So, hi everyone. Today we've got a very interesting guest to share his thoughts on the blockchain industry, what's going on, and what's ahead of us in 2019. He is wearing multiple hats in terms of being a developer or a journalist or even trading trader or even an what to say founding a company. He's into multiple things in blockchain front. So today we've got Mr. Benjamin George from US who is going to share his thoughts on us. Welcome, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so can you please introduce yourself a little bit more for our viewers, and how did you happen to get involved with blockchain technology?
Sure. I originally got involved back in 2012 after being an entrepreneur pretty much my entire life. I started my first business in web design around 16 years old, just kind of continued along that path for quite a while. And then 2012 came, and it was right after Bitcoin had crashed after the Mt. Gox hack. And it went from $1,200 down to about $180 or so. And I remember seeing it before on Slashdot, but never taking the time to actually look at the technology. And so I took the time to look at the technology, and I was instantly sold. And then ever since then, I just kind of dove head in first to it. Did a little bit on I'm on the Bitcoin development list, and then I really got into automated trading. And then from automated trading, I kind of wanted to branch out into the business world of the crypto space. And so from there, I kind of created a few different projects, and that's where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's interesting. So you are mentioning that your zeal to know more information led you to development of theory of information. So can you elaborate more on that and how it has impacted your creative drive?
Well, my theory of information is it's a scientific and philosophical paper that I've written, and it kind of describes the world as a fabric of information as the fundamental aspect of what we call reality existence. But not to get down the too much science path on it. But what it did is it gave me a couple different ideas on how to create sustainable automation systems and apply those to business. And so that's kind of where it gave me a foundation to really see that there's massive amounts of opportunity when you can automate, anything that has to happen twice in a business. And so I've been creating a platform that I run all of my projects on that has automation as a foundation, is kind of one of our principles.
Interesting. So how is it different from other platforms? Like how you could actually apply the theory of information into automating things for yourself?
It's just it's about putting as much information as you can in one place, and it kind of correlates to some other ideas out in the world. Things like emergent behavior and other sort of principles that when you have a great density of information or of energy, then there's dynamic changes that can happen, and it can take on new and different forms that you would never expect. And that's what I wanted to do with bringing automation and sustainability and information together via technology, is to create those foundations, to kind of create those next steps to find those better solutions to do business, to run societies, to do different things in communities. And the crypto part of it was just kind of the first step that I've been taking.
Nice. So you developed fully automated trading and lending system that spans over multiple exchanges. So can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, it just uses the APIs that are public and private APIs that are provided by exchanges. and it was created as kind of a backbone to my platform. So when my projects generate income, I can have a system that automatically takes that and invests it, and then hopefully get to a point where you're just operating off a profit from those investments.
Oh,
and
nice.
so it does all sorts of different trades. I experiment with all sorts of different ideas all the time, but it does candle trading, it does trade analysis, it does, ping pong trading, swing trading, and then longer term trades as well. And then but most of it goes into the lending side because it's just a more secure and consistent investment. But it's something that more of a passion project that kind of just turned into a good idea.
Oh, that's interesting. And you launched a decentralized press token too. How does it combat the abuse of information?
So press token the idea is that by categorizing information and making a chain of events, you create a foundation that you can begin to kind of sort through this whole fake news epidemic that we have floating throughout the world. And the idea is you leverage blockchain technology with that immutable, trustless system and decentralized system so it can't be changed. And whenever something lands on the internet, it then gets recorded in the blockchain, and all of the changes that happen along the way also get recorded. Right. And also, wherever that pops up else on the net, it gets attached as well. And so what you get is an entire picture of how, in this case, a news article would hit the internet, how it changes over time, and then the narrative is preserved. And then so from there, there's a lot of different applications that could be developed. That would be a greater community thing. But also, at the core level, it gives us access with the greatest parallel processor we have access to, the human brain, to really kind of decipher and make educated decisions about, oh, well, that's clearly fake. Just look at the way that it propagated. And so it gives us a foundation to really kind of combat that fake news epidemic that's kind of all over the world right now.
That's pretty interesting. So this keeps the real news from the noise.
Correct. And what it would do is it incentivizes website owners and people to run the code that allows the blockchain to tag all of this news by rewarding them with tokens. And so it has a whole incentive structure to keep it free from abuse. At least mostly free from abuse. You can never guarantee anything in the computer world, but theoretically it should work out.
Still, it's a very progressive step towards having a authenticated stuff, but still decentralized.
Right. Yeah. And the decentralization piece is the key to that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So, coming to the smart contract part, does introducing escrow features into smart contracts bring in added complexity? Is this manageable, or is it a reality or how?
Well, I think smart contracts are probably going to be the future of business in terms that they're going to underlie a lot of the mechanisms of trust that are in play today. They'll do escrows, they'll do contracts, they'll keep good documents like titles and things like that. You'll have a lot of notaries, legal things that will all be kind of moved into smart contracts. It does add complexity, but I don't think that complexity is beyond our ability to apply it properly. And I think we've started to see that. Yeah, we had some hiccups along the way with things like the DAO and other things with smart contracts. But in terms of just a simple escrow, you can do that with just normal scripts in Bitcoin, and also in most cryptocurrencies, you can probably pull it off in one way, shape, or form. So I don't think it adds too much complexity, but I'm pretty sure that most of all cryptocurrencies will continue to go down that path and add smart contracts as kind of just a foundational feature of the system.
Oh, that's pretty promising.
Yeah.
Right. So how are the automation systems impacting cryptocurrencies and smart contracts?
Well, Um, from a bad point, there's the scam and all of the automated bots that are really causing havoc with people. But beyond that, I think kind of one of the foundations of cryptocurrencies is automation. I mean, one of the principles is automating, the trust that it usually takes for me to send you some, or have an exchange between you and I. And so I think that the more automation that comes into crypto, generally the better. I don't think that we need fully automated systems and Turing complete systems necessarily at this time, but I could see in the future, definitely. I mean, there's great opportunities for closed loop systems that you could use Turing complete systems and blockchains and for like explorations and things like that, or robotic explorations. So I believe it'll continue to they'll work with each other and continue to grow both industries.
Yeah, evolve with time.
Yes.
Right. So you handle full life cycle of projects. How do you manage the attrition rate of developers in this highly competitive space?
I learned how to do everything myself too.
But you have limitations on how much you could do.
Right, there are. But one thing I found is that when you create a project that solves real world problems, and is looking to make a positive impact in things, it tends to attract the right people as long as you can make it seen. And so I focus on making it seen part, and then the right people tend to fall in, behind that because they find, they're passionate about similar things and they find that the idea resonates with them. Right. And those are the people who you want working on your project anyway.
Right. So the like attracts the like.
Right.
Right. So how are you effectively promoting your crypto directory? Are you leveraging social media for the global outreach?
That's actually pretty brand new. I just rolled that out. But my platform it's fully integrated with social media, and it does automation in the sense that it'll reach out and it's looking for, in this case, for the crypto directory, it's looking for people talking about cryptocurrency on the Twitter stream. Then it sends them in friend request. And then if they acknowledge that friend request, it sends them a direct message, pulling their name and addressing them directly and asking, a call to action. If they would review the site, or if, they're a business owner, if they'd like to add their business to the site. And so that's kind of going to be the main marketing push for that in the beginning. As I'm still most of my main focus is on CryptoPress and Press Token right now.
Oh, that's interesting. So you get everything automated around your lead generation.
Yep. Yeah, and so by the time that I'm talking to people, they're already a hot lead. They're already interested in the service or product, and they have already taken the time to review it, or at least go through the call to action and then contact me. And so now you're really cutting out all of the headache of the work of that, and just identifying people who are really interested in your product.
Right.
And it's a good foundation for a marketing system. And then from there, that's when you do more direct targeted marketing. And then you can really build out the brand that way with a constant little influx of things always happening. So it gives you kind of that momentum that you need, that little push that usually most businesses need to kind of get rolling.
That's very interesting. Yeah. So with your business relying on data and information, how do you manage the data security and hacking incidents?
Well, with security, the best thing you can do is, choose great passwords, very long, at least 13 words separated by spaces. And then always use two-factor authentication wherever it's available. And then make sure you have that two-factor authentication backed up on at least 2 devices. So what I do personally is I have my phone as my main two-factor authentication device, and then I have a YubiKey that has all the same two factors on it, and it sits in a safe.
Mm-hmm.
So if I ever lose my phone, I know I have access to all my accounts, and then I also don't save any of my passwords on my phone either. So if you get the phone, you don't have the passwords, and if you have the passwords, you need the phone or the YubiKey. And that's a really good way to kind of, on a personal level and on a business level, to set up base kind of security. In terms of like the larger hackings and things like that, those tend to be more of social engineering operations. But it's always good to point out that things like cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin have never been hacked. The protocol itself has never been hacked. People see, Bitcoin hacks, stolen, so many millions of dollars, but that's just the third party that was hacked, and it's never the protocol that's been hacked. So it's actually one of the longest running public programs that we have that's never been hacked. Not to say that it's not without its issues and spam and things like that, but from a pure hacking standpoint, it remains solid.
So people only hack people, not the system.
Generally, yes.
Okay. So there are many digital coins already in the market. So how can a new altcoin sustain, and what are measures of trust to be considered to gain acceptance?
Well, I think the new altcoins that are going to stay are going to be the ones that solve real world problems, and that also need for, if it's security or decentralization, to have their own blockchain. So when both of those are feasible and make sense, that's when we're going to see an altcoin thrive. And I think 2019 will actually see a lot more of those, because the people who are making those have been making those for quite a few years now, and they're getting to the point where they have products that they're ready to start putting out into the wild and testing in the world.
So as a follow-up question, do you see that the existing altcoins, if not all or some of them, are not really solving real world problems?
Absolutely. Many of them.
Really?
Yeah, because a lot of them, they like to, we have this platform that you can exchange on and you can buy goods on, is typically what I see. And then we have the added flair of maybe you get a debit card, or we have a marketplace where we have, partnerships. Well, I think all of those things, those really are unique value propositions. And the unique value propositions are people who are tackling things like medical records, identification, the press, the news cycles, the, transparency in governments, things like that. Those real world solutions that we really need in the world. Those are the ones that'll thrive. And I don't think that there's many coins out there. Now, the ones that are creating ecosystems around them, like an Ethereum and like Waves and other ones like that, Neo, those will probably have some lasting power for sure. And it'll be interesting to see if that lasting power changes into them finding a good direction and a good fit for them in the world. But I think a lot of your cryptocurrencies that were just started as like a cryptocurrency or a project, I think those will probably fade out here in the next year or two.
Okay. So, but why do you think those people would have created such fancy, coins just like that? What would be the driving force or the motivating factor for them to go for something which is not realistic, which is not really going to solve real world problems? Why is that?
Well, I think a lot of it's generally related to greed. In the past year, if you look at all of the ICOs and all of those things, I think people hopped on the bandwagon and said, hey, look, people are giving away millions of dollars. I want millions of dollars. And I think that was a strong motivation. And of course, there's also always people who have great intentions, and maybe they just didn't get the right team around them. Maybe they couldn't, find the right marketing, execution, what have you. But I think it was a good chunk of greed.
So that could be, an avenue of scamsters where you could find scams. A pointer, a hint upon where you can go check this could be a potential scammer?
Right. I have a portal set up on CryptoPress for that, and the idea is I wanted it to be a community-driven kind of page, and it's kind of just like a checks and balances for the crypto world. But I'm still in the design process of that and haven't quite launched it yet.
Okay. So with blockchain technology being so immutable and highly secure, how could anyone hack cryptocurrency exchanges and firms? What is the missing link here, or where things go wrong?
So the way these places get hacked typically is they'll hire engineers, or they'll hire an engineering firm to build their exchanges, and that creates a lot of eyes on code. And it doesn't take much to slip in a backdoor into code if you really know what you're doing. But and so you have a lot of these people who will work for contractors, and then they'll go off and they'll sell the backdoor, or they'll sell the exploit, or they'll use it themselves. Typically though, it's gonna be from the inside. I wouldn't speculate on which ones are that way, but I think in just about every major hack that I've researched myself, there seems to be a strong potential inside component for how the hack actually happened. Because when you do things like set up these wallets, and you have them, you have a cold storage and you have a warm storage and you have all of these, and you do it the right way, you shouldn't get hacked for vast amounts like what a Cryptopia just got hacked for, unless there was somebody who was intimate with all of that process and knew that there was a backdoor in that process, or a way to infiltrate that process whenever they wanted to. So the missing link is, you have code audits, but you're talking exchanges are very complex beasts, and they're pulling from a lot of different third-party sources, as in wallets, and so you have a whole different security hole there too that constantly you're exposed to. So it's just going to be over time that these places have to harden if they want to remain relevant. But I think what's really going to happen is you're going to see the move to decentralized exchanges, where those security risks really go away, because all of the security side of it, and the transaction and the transfer of funds, is handled by a blockchain and not via a third-party service. And you have things like the Lightning Network that's coming out that really enables atomic swaps across networks, and we'll really start to see decentralized exchanges kind of pop up because of that, because then you have instantaneous swaps between two different types of coins, and that really that's all you need for a great exchange. So I think that'll be the ultimate solution, but the big third parties like a Coinbase and things like that aren't going anywhere anytime soon, because they have the public access part of it down.
Right.
Yeah.
So every country is imposing its regulations and restrictions on crypto market. So how would you see the crypto market shaping up in 2019 in such a scenario?
Well, I think a lot of people are taking it pretty cautiously and are looking at it from like we've kind of seen the tech boom for the .com, and I think that gave at least kind of a foundation of appreciation for how technology can really change our economic disposition in the world. And so I think a lot of people are taking it nice and slow. I mean, in the United States, there's a couple states that are rolling out really interesting regulation. You can pay your taxes. They have, business accelerator programs. And then there's many countries. I know some guys down in Costa Rica who are trying to get some very, very hands-off legislature passed with some frameworks for having, ICOs and crypto companies down there. Then you obviously have places like Switzerland, who are traditionally good and have been very progressive with all of that. And then a lot of European Union countries are kind of moving towards pretty progressive frameworks and corporations. So I think 2019 will definitely see more regulation, but I think it'll be much more of the hands-off regulation and just kind of frameworks on how we can structure this so it works with existing structures that we have in government and other places.
Mm-hmm. So that you are very optimistic about it's moving towards getting strengthened.
Yeah, and the reason is one simple reason is that there's a very large cost of trust to do business. You have to trust many third parties, not just banks, but also lawyers and all sorts of other things, payrolls of trust. All of these different processes in business require trust. And when you take cryptocurrencies, the cost of that trust gets relegated down to the cost of electricity almost. And so now you have the ability for a very small shop to compete on the same level as a massive worldwide conglomerate because they don't have all of that cost of trust in their business. Kind of the same way that everybody has a website now because you can't just have a brick and mortar store, you have to have something on the web. It's the same kind of idea, just a bit larger, I think. And I think that one underlying principle alone will continue to propel this market forward and forward until it becomes kind of ubiquitous throughout business.
So that's kind of creating more of a level playing field.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So how different the Monday morning crypto show is from others?
Well, very, because it hasn't launched. I'm working on putting together a crypto network, crypto.xyz,
Right.
kind of doing podcasts and more long form talks like this to kind of get, a greater business understanding and acumen building out there about the crypto world and what actually you can do with it at a business level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of going to be the focus of that show, is to kind of get high level, people who are running interesting projects, solving real world problems, getting them, talking with them, and getting their perspective on why they're solving the problem, how they're solving the problem, and how crypto applies to that. And then from there, hopefully kind of, grow the greater business world into the crypto world and show them that there's some real world applications that you need to jump on because it's going to really change the way business is going.
So when do you hope to, launch it?
Probably I'm thinking at the end of March. Will probably come
this
out.
year?
This year, yeah. I have quite a few interviews lined up, and so as soon as I get kind of the first season or so with interviews, I'll probably launch it then.
So you're already setting a blueprint for us to follow.
Yes.
So we would follow the same, for us to be creating awareness like how you do for yourself.
Great.
Okay. So how would you see integrating artificial intelligence with blockchain together, complementing each other? Why should any investor care about that?
Well, artificial intelligence is an interesting thing. I mean, automation is artificial intelligence, really. It's just a very dedicated task of artificial intelligence. The more generalized artificial intelligence is still a ways off. But we do have high level neural networks and things like that are doing very interesting work in other fields. In terms of crypto, I think there's some people who are doing predictions and oracles that are based upon artificial intelligence. And those are really interesting projects. I think that artificial intelligence and crypto and automation and all of these higher technologies will all kind of coalesce here. They'll all be working with each other, because once you're talking about the massive amounts of information that these blockchains are going to be sorting through that and efficiently and finding new ways of connections, new algorithms to do that, I think will probably be done more so by AI in the future than what we've been how we've been building it today.
Okay, so that's more of progressive in today's scenario? I mean, you mean to say artificial intelligence will have major role to play in blockchain?
I think it will, and I think that major role from an investor standpoint is something that you should definitely take note of. But again, generalized artificial intelligence is a ways off, at least so it seems from my arena. And so the people saying that it's going to be, you know, revolutionize the next step, I don't know if it's going to be the next step, but it might be the one following that.
Okay, so coming back to your directory project, it seems to be a very interesting one. And who are your potential targets, and how are you getting the business on board?
Well, the idea behind that is I want to incorporate any business that accepts cryptocurrency in the world, because at its core, once it becomes populated, it turns into a travel companion. It gives directions. So you would be able to give it your location and then say, I need a Bitcoin or an Ethereum ATM. And you plug it in and it would give you the directions to the closest Ethereum ATM. Or, you know, I need to spend some Dash today. And, you know, well, this bar takes Dash, and you go get a beer for Dash. And so that's kind of the ultimate goal of it. The onboarding process is just going to be more of a word of mouth, and then just that automated marketing push, and then more direct marketing once it starts to find some traction.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, Mr. Benjamin, then you know, for sharing your thoughts and for your time. Really, it's a pleasure talking to you. And let's stay connected. Probably we'll have another round of interview once you launch your crypto show.
Great. Sounds great, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All the best. Thank you.
Day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.